I'm Kevin Power, and this is SaskScapes, the podcast featuring stories of arts, culture, and heritage in Saskatchewan. Oh, Canada, you don't look a day over 149. 2017 marked our 150 years of Confederation. Well, my, how time flies. For the past year, Canadians across the country have been planning how their communities would celebrate. And among those hundreds of events and projects came an idea initiated by Alberta artist Louis Lavoie, a dream to connect our country by creating the mural mosaics project. 150 communities participated throughout the year in creating their own murals made of hundreds of individually painted tiles. The lead artistic team traveled coast to coast to assist these communities in creating their murals, which all had a theme of unity through diversity, using the motif of train cars, that iconic connection symbolizing our unity. Yorkton, Saskatchewan was one of the participating communities, and clearly that city couldn't have been more proud of the result. In this episode, you'll hear from 6 guests who contributed to the creation of the Yorkton mosaic, and in every case, each of my guests painted their own individual tiles. In the end, Yorkton's mural consisted of over 600 individually painted tiles. I had the chance to speak with my Yorkton guests via telephone just days before the official unveiling of the mural on December 17, 2017. The links to the mural mosaic project can be found in the show notes. Well, it's not often that I get a repeat guest in this series, but I'm happy that this is a case where I do have a guest coming back. It's Lisa Washington, the Community Development Manager of the City of Yorkton. Hey, Lisa.
Hello. This is very exciting, Kevin.
It is. Last we heard from you was the Culture Days weekend in Yorkton a couple of years ago. That would be, for listeners who are interested in hearing more from Lisa, episode number 65. So this is really exciting. You contacted me about a week ago regarding a fantastic project, which is really a nationwide phenomenon, and how Yorkton was playing into this national project, and that is the Canada150 Mosaic Mural Project. So from your point of view, I know that this was managed through the Godfrey Dean Art Gallery, but who came first in the process? Did they approach you?
We approached them because I certainly don't have the expertise that the Godfrey Dean Art Gallery Executive Director does to arrange and manage a project like this.
The point was to get 150 communities involved.
Yes. And then it's all done in a train car motif. So each community would have a train car, but on that train car and around that train car would be the items specific to their community, because it is quite a legacy. It's a time capsule of our community at a specific point in time, and it's connected nationwide to celebrate Canada150.
Right. So that specific point in time would be where you're at right now, or is it bringing your past into present day?
Well, I guess it's a combination of both, Kevin, because when I'm saying a specific point in time, it was painted over, the mural mosaic team was in town for 3 days, and they had artists and community members come and paint for 2 of those days. So that captures that specific point in time. But looking at each tile, holy crow, there's some very detailed pieces of pioneers, very detailed pieces of scenes, and it's just a 3 by 3 or 4 by 4 inch tile. So even those themselves have pictures of past, but then there's also some ones that are very whimsical from children. or could be from adults. I'm not sure who all painted those, but it just spans time in such a unique way, but it was also done to commemorate our 100 years of Confederation.
Now, do you have a sense of how many members within the community participated in this at this point?
I'm not sure of the numbers of individuals. I know I went and counted. There's 1,002 tiles that make up this huge mosaic, yes.
Right. And so, but the demographic of people that would have been involved would have been kids from schools, their parents, their family. I mean,
yeah, I think we even saw a baby that came and her parents put paint on her hand, and there's a handprint from I think she was maybe 4 months old on there.
Did you get a chance to paint the tile yourself?
I did.
Did you?
I did. And and I don't often show people which one it is because, of course, in my head, it looked much different.
May I ask the theme we know the overall theme, but may I ask what picture you captured on your tile?
On my tile, it is actually similar, something that says welcome home. The letters are on there. They didn't come out the exact way I wanted them to, but I guess because I wanted to try and capture the sense that Canada is home to so many unique cultures, and we so strongly value multiculturalism in Canada, and we have a very strong presence of newcomers in our community. I heard from one of the staff, or one of the artists from the artistic team, that at one point for one of the painting sessions, there wasn't any English being spoken, but a multitude of different languages.
Wow, very cool. So there was a lot of paint happening in the city of Yorkton.
There was.
Right.
There was. And just even getting the community engaged into what did they think was unique about Yorkton. We did a community consultation in a different way than we have in the past, because instead of putting it in the newspaper or over the radio and hosting an event in a room someplace at the library where, 5 or 6 people come, we thought, let's do this over social media.
Mm-hmm.
And we had close to, I think, 75 people chime in as to what they thought was unique about Yorkton, and we were able to group it into 5 different areas. And there was a Sunflower Art and Craft Market was one of them. The Yorkton Film Festival was one of them. The Gallagher Center, the leisure center we have in town, was one of them. The overwhelming one that got most of the votes, though, was agriculture and 150 years of change for farmers.
Right. And it must be interesting to see what some of the newcomers painted, because they would be seeing, depending on how recently they've arrived in Saskatchewan, they would be seeing Yorkton through some very different eyes than those of you who have lived there or born there, grew up there.
Yes, very much so. And even just looking at some of those tiles, it looks like some people painted scenes from their own heritage. There was one tile with 4 dancers on it. There was another one I think I saw with a close-up of somebody eating a bowl of noodles.
So you said how many tiles for this one?
1,002. Originally, our plans were to have it outside at the Godfrey Dean Art Gallery, but in a sheltered area. And then when we actually had the event going on, Godfrey Dean did such an amazing job of promotions that we had more people wanting to come and paint than we had seats for and tiles for. So the artistic team expanded it by 2 feet. So they added on some extra tiles. And then now the mural itself is measured 8 feet by 14 feet. And the spot where we had originally planned to put it was too small. So now we have it hung in a stairwell on a landing going up to the second floor of our leisure center. And it looks like it was custom made for that space because it is so big. There's maybe 6 inches on either side of it. And it can be viewed from up top. It can be viewed down from down below. It just fits so well in there.
And that's the Gallagher Center.
Yes.
And it will be available, well, continuously for anyone to view at any time.
Absolutely. And then we have posters printed of it and postcards too. And the reason why we got the posters and postcards printed is it turns out that one of our staff members, actually the Gallagher Center manager, had gone to see a mosaic created by the artistic team, the mural mosaic team, on the West Coast. And he had gone specifically to see it. I can't remember which town, but they promoted it as a tourist item, and he bought a postcard. So he said, we need to have postcards of ours.
Now, there's a point to this project with regards to future generations. I mean, this will live on long after us. Do you think that, or is the hope that people will continue this legacy and have the opportunity to add to the mural, or is it now set?
It is set. It's framed. It's its own standalone piece of art with numerous standalone pieces of artwork within it.
Right.
Yeah, there's no room to add on.
Right. Okay. I'm wondering if it will be something that schools will be taken on a field trip to go and see.
Oh, wow. That's a good idea, Kevin. I can certainly start promoting that out to the teachers.
Yeah, much like a school would go off to a museum. And I would think for the school students who participated in it, it'll be a tremendous sense of pride to, first of all, find their tile and then know that they've been a part of it.
Mm-hmm. And we have schools that come to the Gallagher Center for swimming, but if they don't know where it is, they don't pass by it. They wouldn't know their painting is up there, their tile.
So your hope is that as many people as possible will show up on the 17th for the big unveiling. Any special guest speakers at that point? Will the original artistic team be there for that?
Unfortunately, they won't. They're still working on different murals in different communities.
Right.
But Don Stein will be coming and talking about the whole process because he liaised mostly with the artistic team, and he helped coordinate all the painting sessions. He had volunteer artists that took packages of tiles and the paints that were being used out to some different groups and different schools to ensure that we had as many people as possible from the community have an opportunity to paint. And because the artists were here on a Thursday and a Friday, of course, not all the schools could make it. So we took the project out to the schools.
So was this the big contribution to celebrating Canada150 for Yorkton, or did you have other things going on as well?
Well, from my perspective, this was the biggest because it was the most unique. We did celebrate on Canada Day with the local Western Development Museum. We tagged in with them on their usual Canada Day celebrations. That's in our community the go-to organization to celebrate Canada Day. So we just kind of fleshed out their celebrations and brought in an amazing fireworks display because the museum doesn't do fireworks on Canada Day because another organization does it a week later for their event. But this time we thought, nope, there definitely needs to be fireworks on the day. So we invested in that. And then we're also having the unveiling at the front end of an event to celebrate Canada150 and having free skating at our leisure center, bringing out Santa and firefighters. And then we're having a huge bonfire in the backyard, so to speak, of that leisure center. And horse and buggy rides or horse and wagon rides. What could be more Canadian than that during the winter?
Well, thanks for filling me in on how this came together from your point of view. It's must feel very gratifying to know that you're part of a nationwide project and that Yorkton, because not every community was able to do it, that Yorkton got to be one of the lucky ones that participated.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely, because very few communities, if they were going for 150, there's more than that in Saskatchewan who could have done it, but we're one of the ones that did it nationwide.
It's good to talk with you, Lisa. I think we should make this a habit. Now that you're a repeat guest twice, I think you should come back as a reoccurring.
That would be lovely.
Well, the city of Yorkton really is very, very vibrant. You've got a lot going on there. So I dare you to come back yet again.
Well, I just might accept that, dare, Kevin.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. Good to talk with you.
And good talking with you, Kevin.
It's a treat to always have a guest come back for the series, which doesn't really happen very often, but it's happening again this time. Don Stein, the executive director of the Godfrey Dean Art Gallery in Yorkton, is with me once again. Hello, Don.
Hello, and thanks for having me back for what sounds like a rare second appearance.
It is. It's a fluke. It just doesn't really actually happen that often. And last we spoke was episode 65, which was when I was in Yorkton for the Culture Days weekend, and I met with you at the gallery. So now we're on to something equally as exciting as our love of coffee, which we both share, which is this Canada150 mosaic mural project, a nationwide project celebrating Canada's 150th birthday. And the intention, as I understand it from the artist's original vision, is that 150 communities participate in this project. So given that, how did you, at one point, did you come into the process?
So we were very, very fortunate because the project kind of came to our attention through the city. I know you've spoken with Lisa Washington, and she was sort of the initiator who got behind this and got the city on board and whatnot. We were having a conversation when she was telling us about this idea, and she was saying, her next challenge was going to be reaching out to the arts community and to the community of people who might want to paint tiles and get them involved. So we offered to be the sort of agent to make that possible, and we ended up playing that central coordinating role. And we just had a tremendous turnout from the community. The response was spectacular.
So how did you get this spectacular turnout?
We are like everybody else. We were very pleased by the reach that we got through social media. And so it was primarily that way. There were other media that covered it, and we had lots of interest from a variety of vehicles and situations. But for the most part, it just spread really quickly on social media. And, at the gallery, we try hard to, I call it feeding that machine, but in this case, it really took off. It caught people's imagination.
And it caught the imagination of schools as well, yes?
That was one of the ways that we got, I don't know if Lisa mentioned this, but normally they do about 500 tiles per community. And so they need about 500 people to come and paint them. And we blew through 500 so quickly that they had to make ours a 600 tile mosaic. And that was largely because, as you say, the schools really picked this up. And so a lot of teachers were getting in touch saying, we'd really like our grade, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it was, to be involved in this, so sign us up.
Hey, it's Kevin. I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Just a quick reminder that the SaskScapes podcast is available for free on your favorite podcast app, or you can stream it from your browser. Check out the show notes for the link. On the SaskScapes homepage, you'll notice something new under the logo called SaskScapes Plus. You can't miss it. There's a big button saying support with a heart icon next to it. I'd love it if you could click on that button and help keep this podcast series going. When SaskScapes launched in May 2014, it was the first podcast in the province celebrating arts, culture, and heritage. In fact, you'd have been pretty hard-pressed to find any Saskatchewan podcasts. So I'd like to think that we paved the way. It's been because of your support that this podcast is now in its 9th year. Okay, that's it. Enjoy the rest of the episode. And so this obviously didn't happen on one day. So what was the time span in which people had a chance to come in to paint a tile?
There were 3 days, really, where we were focused on it. And that sort of came down to 2.5. But it was kind of a long weekend sort of project with people coming for Thursday, Friday. By midday Saturday, it was sort of finished and the mural was being assembled. And so over that very short time, we had hundreds of people coming through our venue here and doing these large group workshops. It was really, really fun.
Now, this was born from the brain of Louis Lavoie from St. Albert in Alberta, and his brother. And I think 13 years ago, was when they started doing murals, but 2015 was the beginning of this specific 150 mural. Did they come to Yorkton?
Absolutely.
Is that who came?
Yes, they definitely are the key to this project happening. They travel around. Alain and Paul were here, and so we had 2 of the 3. And I know that right after us, they went to Ontario and they had to bring in some other extra resource artists because they were doing them in 2 or 3 cities at the same time. But their general model is a couple of artists will come to a community and they already have a pretty good idea of what the mural is going to be finished looking like, because there's a design that's been made specific to each community. And that design is based on, input and response from the community. And Lisa spent a long time soliciting information and getting all of that together before we were ever involved. But by the time the 2 artists arrived, they have a wonderful workshop format, and they have all the materials, and they're engaging and very entertaining. And so they immediately are able to take a room full of up to 30 or 40 people and start making tiles right from the get-go.
They must have been thrilled with the turnout.
They were thrilled, because not only would we said put a nominal limit on each workshop group of about 40 people, but because of word of mouth, often 50 or even 60 people would show up because other people didn't realize they had to register, or a second group from the same school just was tacked on. So we had a bit of an onslaught, and these guys were, really... Luckily for us, they were very experienced, but they were also very gracious about welcoming everybody. But much to their surprise, the very first group, when they were describing the project, and they said, and we're doing this, and it's for Canada, this one young fellow piped up and said, well, can we sing "O Canada"? And they'd never seen this in any other places, and it really was I think this young guy was in grade school for sure. And so they all sang it right away, and then afterwards the organizers were saying, other communities, they've suggested singing "O Canada," but they had never seen this level of enthusiasm.
Had you partnered at all with other galleries or artists in the past? Obviously not with a project this scale, but has the Godfrey Dean been part of collaborative work before?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Making partnerships and working in collaboration with other groups is, I think, really, it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's great to get new ideas from other people's energy and involvement. And I think it also helps keep you more connected to your community and more in tune with kind of what's the vibe, what people are doing, when you can reach out into the community and bring them into a project instead of it just always being one way from the gallery out. This is really a project that was everybody equal partnered in making it happen.
So tell me, did you get a chance to paint a tile?
Absolutely. I had a chance to paint a couple, but I was only satisfied in the end with one, so I did get my tile in there. It was super fun.
May I ask what was the inspiration behind yours?
Oh, that's a good question. I wanted to refer to a little bit of the Chinese-Canadian history in Yorkton because, like a lot of prairie communities especially, but a number of communities all over Canada, there was an important history here and still is of restaurants and cafes and other businesses that we sort of grew up with that were part of our history. And so I kind of made a little reference to that and made some Chinese characters and faded them into a little background of kind of yellow wheat.
You've touched on one of my bucket list conversations I'm dying to have. I am fascinated with the phenomenon that is the Chinese restaurant that seems to be ubiquitous in so many small towns in Saskatchewan. And I would just love to, in a perfect world, do a tour of all these restaurants and find out the stories behind the people that run them and how they came here. Because it's just, it's quite amazing. I'm so glad that that's what you chose to paint. That's great.
Yeah, it's an important part of our history, and I think, there's a few steps that are being taken to recognize it here and there, and I also have the same interest to exhibit and discuss and talk about that kind of work because it really is something, as you say, in the prairies especially and in the West, a big part of history and culture.
Now, the unveiling happens on the 17th of December, which is just a few days away. Have you had a sneak peek?
Yes, I went over while it was being installed to see what it was looking like as it took shape.
Lisa says, in her opinion, she thinks it was one of the better ones that she's seen.
The one that she made?
No, the entire the entire mural that she feels it's one of the better ones that she's.
Oh yes, I'm just being funny. I'm sure Lisa's tile was also very good because I know she came. The Yorkton one was very successful, and when you look at all of them, and one of the reasons it is that the symbols chosen by the community were big and sort of singular. So there's a large agricultural tractor. There's a large draft horse. There's a large stylized wheat sheaf, which is the symbol of our long-running Yorkton Film Festival. And those three iconic images are on the sort of train car. All of the murals across Canada are painted on the bed of a flat railway car, and that's how they get the metaphor of connecting them across the country. But in our case, it's just those three large icons on the car, and then basically a blue background. So the complexity of hundreds of different tiles is much more successful because it's only trying to emulate blue. And so you're not confused by all of the busyness. In fact, you're drawn into the simplicity, and the busyness is just an added bonus.
I'm wondering, from your perspective, what your hopes, dreams, desires are for how this remains a vital part of the tourism part of Yorkton, but also from an artistic point of view, how to keep this alive for generations to come. It's sort of like a time capsule, yeah?
It's very interesting that way because we worked hard actually on, of course it was an open call, but we worked hard on making sure different groups were represented. And I understand you're going to talk to an artist who I commissioned specifically because she's a very good painter. And I asked her to paint a tile which was a portrait of these 4 square dancers. And these 4 square dancers showed up in their costumes, the little skirts and the kerchiefs and everything. They're elderly people. And they painted their own tiles, but we took a photograph and then one of the artists painted them into it. A lot of people painted their family into it. People painted different things that were important to them. And so you're right, it's very much a little snapshot of the mosaic of our community and its history. The preservation for the future, I think, was really given an assist because it was actually Tanya Vermette, who runs the Yorkton Arts Council, who pointed out that, murals outside deteriorate and maybe this mural would be better inside. And so the city just responded to that suggestion really well, and it's an indoor mural in Yorkton. And its placement is in a big sports and recreational complex that sees just tons of visitors every year. And so we're guaranteed that it's going to have a lot of people who get to see it and appreciate it. And also it's in an indoor and controlled environment, and so it's going to be much more durable than if it was out in the elements every day.
Right. Since you were so involved, the gallery was so involved, are there any plans to somehow capture an image? I mean, it would have to be a very wide angle lens of the entire mural, and have a smaller, perhaps framed version of it hung in the gallery to reference where people should be going to see the life-size version of it.
Funny you should mention that. Funny you should mention that, Kevin. The people behind the mural, they are really good at that, and they have put together a variety of different packages and kits and graphics. They have calendars and puzzles and a lot of things based on these murals. And one of the arrangements they make with every community is there are limited edition prints available. So people can actually purchase a really decent final version print of the mural, and I think the city might be making those available. And so a lot of effort has gone into just what you say, making sure we capture that visual history and make it portable for people so we can enjoy it even if you don't go see it at the it's called the Gallagher Center, which is the building where it is. Even if you don't make it over there, there should be lots of ways to enjoy it and reflect on it.
Must feel very gratifying to know that all the effort was worth it.
Oh, I was so thrilled with the response. I have to say, at the beginning, so many people were skeptical that we would be able to get 500 out to do a tile. And they're like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure. And to be honest, even I felt a bit challenged. But like I said, we blew through the 500 in 48 hours. We sold it out in like 2 or 3 days. And I just did not expect that kind of enthusiasm. And then, like I said, just people just showing up because they heard about it, and how gracious the team was to accommodate everybody. It was a heartwarming project. And yeah, the mural that resulted is really strong. It's really, really good work. So my hat's off to everybody involved.
When you got a sneak peek of it, did your eye immediately go to where your tile was, or did you have a hard time finding it?
Oh, heavens no, you have a hard time finding it. Even if you know where more or less it was, there's a lot of complexity. And so, yeah, no, you definitely look around. I know sort of where mine is, so it's easier for me, but even then, I had to look twice for it.
It must be very challenging to try and find it because there's so many.
Well, I think in the end, what they put up was about 600 and some. And but you're absolutely right. There's a lot of, if you say, oh, it's in the sky, there's a lot of sky, right? If you say it's in the tractor, there's a lot of tractor. So you kind of have to narrow it down, and sometimes people have to get a second opinion to make sure they're choosing the right one.
You'll have to come up with some GPS app or something where each tile is assigned. You can zoom in.
Oh, that'd be funny. That'd be a bigger project than getting the original one painted.
Well, Don, it's good to check in with you again and find out that Yorkton is artistically as vibrant as it was the last time I spoke with you.
Well, it was great chatting with you, and I'm glad we had this opportunity to talk about the mural. It's a terrific project. I know there's several others out there in Saskatchewan, and I think my feeling is that everybody had a similarly positive response and an enjoyable experience in their town.
I look forward to seeing it in person next time I'm in town, which should not be too far off the way things are going.
That's great. I look forward to making sure you pass by the gallery and say hello.
Absolutely. Thanks, Don.
All right. Have a great day, and hello to all you listeners.
Well, I'm very pleased to welcome to the podcast a couple of guests who have been involved directly in painting some of the tiles that are part of the mosaic mural that we've been talking about during this whole podcast. And I have with me Sheena Johnson-Brown and her daughter Amara. Hi, you two.
Hi.
So, as much as I would love to get into your story, which in and of itself is a whole podcast episode, which I will tackle at some point, we'll just do the broad strokes. You are originally from Jamaica,
Yes.
and Amara, you were born there as well,
Yes, I was.
and
Very nice.
you've only been in Yorkton for a year.
Yeah, we came a year and 2 months. We came last year, October.
So you've
We came
already
just
survived
before Halloween.
You've already survived one winter.
Yes, and I would like a T-shirt that says, I survived Saskatchewan winter. I need a shirt.
Well, you're going to need something slightly warmer than that. I think you need a parka that says I survived it. Well, it's upon us now, so I guess you're a sucker for punishment that you're going to get to experience it twice.
Yes. Yeah. I know, my friends back home always wonder, especially when I mention temperatures in the minuses, like minus 20. People's brains get confused. It's like numbers don't go that high.
Yeah, right. So what brought you to Yorkton?
Well, I would say I migrated to Canada on the whole federal skilled worker program, and Saskatchewan nominated me to come. And then it was a matter of where to go in Saskatchewan. I had a whole province to choose from. And I was doing research, looking around, and I tell you, it's just one of those wonderful coincidences. My husband actually knew a Jamaican couple here in Yorkton, someone he used to work with. And we said, Yorkton's a good start as anywhere else. And that's how we ended up coming here, and we like it. It's a small town, and I think it kind of suits our family and our vibe to get adjusted to a new place. Right. So we just ended up in Yorkton.
How do you feel about it, Amara?
It's cold, but it's nice. I used to live in the city, so it's like a huge change from like the really noisy cars when you just like hear a car now and then.
Is that a good change?
Yes, because it's quieter, which means that I don't always have to like lock the doors and like always have to stay in my room, because in my room was like the quietest place. Mm-hmm. So now it's really nice.
So either of you can begin to answer this for me. When did you first hear about this mural mosaic program that was happening there?
Okay, I think I heard about it. I know it was sometime in July. Because of Canada's 150, and because we were fairly new to the country, I definitely wanted us to participate in some activities. So we had, attended an event here in Yorkton with some fireworks. And my daughter, Amara, actually at the time, she was going to the Godfrey Dean Gallery as their summer art program. And I think I was really going through either Facebook, and I saw the post that they're doing this mural. And I remember calling, and I'm like, when are you doing it? What time? Mm-hmm. And there was a spot they had on a Friday, and I grabbed her as soon as the school bell rang. I grabbed her, and I just shot straight down to the gallery and went with her. I said, listen, it's a mural. You're going to paint it. Have some fun. And that's kind of how we got involved.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, Amara, you were a pro by then because you were already taking courses at the gallery.
Well, I mean, like, yes and no, because at the gallery, they didn't really do much with painting. They kind of did more arts and crafts things, like modeling clay. But yeah, I did learn some things. I learned about like cool colors and warm colors.
Yes.
And in the tile that I painted, I think I used some cool colors, because I had to paint green. I'm pretty sure green's a cool color. So I used green, and I used orange, which is a warm color.
Right. So did you each do one tile?
I didn't do a tile. I think I just gave everything over to Amara.
Oh.
And she did her thing. I was kind of just watching everybody because there was like a group of kids, and some parents were with kids.
What was the energy like in the room?
It was very noisy. There was about like maybe 20, maybe 30, not really 30, like 20, 25 people. And like everyone was talking. I saw someone like sketching on their tile and then they painted over later. I thought that was good.
But everybody thought it was a pretty cool idea who was there.
Yeah, people were, as Amar was saying, that there was like there was talking, but people were focused on doing their task because the importance of it or how you felt about doing it. Mm-hmm. And people were, very complimentary. Somebody would say, "Oh, I like that color you used," or "Is that a cat?" And people would talk about what they have just put on the tile and share maybe a little backstory as to why they did something.
Right. Amara, did you know about this being a nationwide project where 150 cities and towns all across Canada were participating by creating a mural of their own?
Oh, well, I didn't know that it was so many cities. I knew that it was going to be like going to different provinces and be shown across cities. Well, but that's a lot of people.
Because it was 150, they decided 150 towns. And so if they could put all of the murals together, it would be longer than 4 football fields. So that's how many. So you can travel all across the country and you'll be able to see everybody's entry as part of the mosaic. It's a way of bringing the country together. And I think you were told that there was sort of a railway theme to the project. Did you hear about that?
Oh yes.
Right.
In the project, I saw a little railroad, and like in ours there was like a donkey.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was a horse. Yeah, it was a horse, sorry. And like a little red car.
The tractor. And the Sheaf Award from the film festival, that golden sheaf.
Right. So are you allowed to tell me what you painted, Amara, or is it a secret?
Well, I can't really explain it much. What I did was like a bright green for the background. I let that dry. Then I used a darker green for like little swirls. It was more like abstract. And I had dots of red and orange on it, just all around.
Now, was this because you were told that your tile was going to fit into some kind of a color scheme, or did you just get to do whatever you wanted?
Oh, I was told to have the color scheme be something with green, but no blue on it.
Okay.
So I guess mine was like grass or something. Right. And we actually got to see it today.
Oh, you did? I was going to ask if you got a sneak preview. You did.
Yes. Yeah. And she found her tile. She was so excited.
So what did you think when you stepped back and looked at the whole thing together as one big image?
It was amazing. Like, I really liked it. Like, it just looks so cool how all these little tiny pictures on tiles could like make this huge, giant one that would be like going all around into different provinces.
Yeah. And so how quickly did you find yours? There were over 600 tiles there, so you had a lot of.
I remember when I painted mine, they were still putting it together, so I kind of saw mine on like the bottom row. So I just like searched along the bottom row until I found it.
Do you have any other friends that participated in it?
Oh, yes, I did, actually. I had my friend Courtney from school, and she ended up, she was in the green section too. I don't remember seeing her tile because I didn't get to see her finish it because I had to leave.
Right.
But I know she was in the green section somewhere, and I think it turned out pretty well.
You want to give a shout out to your school?
Oh, yeah. My school's epic, and it's called St. Paul's because it's cool, and my principal's cool.
So tell me, being new to the province and being new to the country, how does it feel to be in a country that's celebrating 150 years when you're so new, you're seeing it through fresh eyes? What does it feel like to be a Canadian now?
I tell you, it has been a very good process. It's been a very welcome transition. For me, interestingly, it was also a time of parallels because Canada is celebrating 150. Jamaica, where I'm from, did 55 years. Same, just a month apart. Jamaica is August, is Jamaica's celebration. So Jamaica has about 95 years left to catch up. But what I really appreciated was there was a similar sentiment and spirit. It doesn't matter if it's Jamaica, Canada, anywhere. People knew of the significance of the moment. You kind of discussed it. You worked together. It was either a little project. I had friends who did like a backyard barbecue. For example, some of the Jamaicans here had a barbecue and invited Canadians over. So then you got a taste of Jamaican food with a Canadian mix, all part of the kind of 150 celebration. So for me, it has been a very, very good experience. And I've really enjoyed sort of being new and learning. And there's some things that are so different. And there's some things that I'm quite happy for that I have to kind of learn about, and I'm enjoying it.
Amara, have you had any food that you think is particular to Saskatchewan that you don't have back home in Jamaica?
Well, there's actually two of them. The first one
what
is
are those?
pierogies.
Yes.
I think they're pretty nice. My sister loves them. Like, she always has them at daycare.
Yeah.
And my second one is probably poutine, which I mean, like,
That's a Canadian phenomenon.
I heard that you have to go to Montreal to get the good one.
Absolutely, you do. Yeah, and it was born in Montreal, I think, but it's a Canadian phenomenon now, and I think even in the States it's starting to work its way in there. It's a big bowl full of goodness, really. But tell me this: can you find a decent roti in Yorkton?
Oh, Kevin, you've spoken to my heart. Unfortunately, no. No, no, there are no roti restaurants here. I would have to try and work up a roti recipe in my kitchen. But yeah, roti is something that is pretty popular in Jamaica too, because we have it with like either curry chicken or curry goat. So
yes. Well, you're just going to have to open the first Jamaican Caribbean restaurant in Yorkton.
I agree. And there are people here who could pretty much, help with that. There are some people here who can cook pretty good.
Yeah, how many people, are there quite a few people from Jamaica now living there?
I would say at the most about just under 100 people, and that would include kids. And it would be a mix of persons who are like here as residents or persons who are like working temporarily, and students, people who are studying nearby at Parkland College.
Right.
I tend to see everybody either at a baby shower, church, or a Jamaican celebration. But there's food, and people will be there.
Yeah. Yes, food is the common denominator for all of us. Amara, tell me, so you're how old now?
I'm 11 right now.
Okay, so in, say, 90 years from now, maybe you will be 101, but in 90 years from now, what would your hope be for kids that are your age now that have an opportunity to see the mural? It will still be around, I'm quite sure. How do you think it's going to affect generations to come after you?
Well, I think the first thing that's going to amaze them is probably like the railroad, because they're going to be like, whoa, that's so cool. They probably won't make it even 90 years. So it'll be like, OMG, it's a picture of a railroad and it looks so epic. I think the second thing that they'll find amazing is that so many people participated in it and that their country was celebrated in such an amazing way through a mural. And I think they're going to appreciate it. They're also going to be amazed by like some things that probably won't be around. Maybe like the railroad, and also maybe like the tractor. I mean, like they probably have something like a tractor, but not like the old ones or like the ones we see now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much of the how much of our past stays preserved moving forward. I mean, our agriculture is such an intrinsic part of this province. It'll be interesting to see what the farm looks like in 100 years from now. Well, thank you both very much for joining me. This was great to hear how the mural project is affecting you both as newcomers. It's pretty cool. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Have a great holiday, Amara.
Thank you. Same to you.
Yeah, and Merry Christmas to you. Yes.
And to you. Thank you. Bye for now.
All righty.
Bye.
So, joining me by telephone, all the way over in Yorkton, are two artists that are no strangers in Yorkton. I'm speaking about Jean Spilak and Joan Wilson. Hello to both of you.
Hello. Hello, too. It's great to be talking with you today.
So when we have this conversation, I guess just for listeners, you should probably say, this is Jean or this is Joan, since you both sound quite similar on the telephone.
We're a similar age. Yeah.
Right. So you are well-established artists in the community of Yorkton and in the province, yes?
Well, we are. This is Joan here, and we're both enjoy working in art and creating a variety of different art things and working with children and adults to do the same thing. As far as, a large repertoire and gallery experience, we probably don't have that. But what we have is a long time commitment to working in art. And Jean especially has done a lot of art on her own. So, and I've done more work with people probably in the art field.
Well, you're being very humble, Joan, because I also happen to know that you are a past recipient of the Saskatchewan Volunteer Medal. So you do indeed do a lot, if I have my facts correct. And you seem to be somewhat of an expert on birding and plant life.
Well, that's another interest I do have, yes. And so I was very fortunate to have been selected and to have received that award in 2013. It was a great surprise to me. And so it's over many years of working in many different areas that it sort of fell into place, I think. So
right.
It was, that was great.
So, Jean, were you both involved?
Yes, we were both involved. We went to several schools and high schools, and we did Saskabilities, Boys and Girls Club, this kind of thing. There were a couple places that we had to go individually because we couldn't spread ourselves thin enough, and they wanted us kind of at the same time. But yes, it was really a great experience. The children loved it. They were so accepting of us and so wanting to do something. Yes, because we had up to 70 people in there at a time doing the tiles for the mural. Every couple hours, we had a new set of people coming in to do this. So there were a lot of people there all the time. But over and above that, this is kind of what Joan and I did: is we went to all the places that they couldn't bring their students to the downtown area because bus availability and this kind of thing was not that possible and available to them. Right. I think this. I think that Paul and Phil sort of had a very pre-organized idea of this, and they had sort of done some original work to get it set up for us, so that when the tiles were ready and done, we just kind of fit them into all these places, and I think it just fell into place beautifully for us. So they did a super job.
Well, they were very organized. I was very keen to help with this, so Don knew he would need some people to come as resource people to help, and so he had asked Jean and asked myself to come, and so I was delighted to come and find out, because I had seen these murals before, and I was just curious to see how would you approach that? How would you do this? But they came fully prepared with the tiles all cut and ready. It flowed. It really did. It was just great. there's an add-on building here that we can access through this building, and it's the old land titles building. And it's an open space, and we can use it for workshops. And so that is where we painted, we painted in there and then assembled the mural on the big boards individually, put the tiles on the big boards that they had planned out, and that's where we painted and assembled it. And now it has been hung at the other end of town at the sports center, the Gallagher Center it's called.
And when did you approach the schools? Was it right off the bat you thought this is a project that can involve students?
Don had worked on that through his office here to send out information to the school so they could be alerted and then watch for it and then sign up if they were interested. And for myself, I'm from the small town of Saltcoats, just southeast of here, and I knew we have great kids there that would love the project, and so I asked if I could also take a kit of materials out to Saltcoats School. So I had done that on the second day, and there were about 25 kids there. They asked them who wanted to do this, and so there are kids in grade 4 to 8 who participated in that, and yeah, they loved it, and it just was a great project.
Now, you have both worked with students on art for other projects, yes, within schools?
Oh, yes. Yes, very many. I've taught a lot of classes in all the separate schools here at different times. Usually every year I go probably 3 or 4 times to different schools to do different classes when teachers ask for an art class. They would just want to do something extra and out of their ordinary classes and art classes. So I've done that kind of constantly. And then I taught art at the gallery here for a few years on and off. And right now I'm teaching art class from September to December and January to May again coming up.
So you got a chance to see several of the tiles that these students were working on. Were there any that you can recall that sort of stood out to you as quite remarkable from an imaginary point of view? Just what the kids were. Tell me about
quite a few. One was North and Free. That was really good. I thought that was just a quotation. And there were several that were, of course, we had the Yorkton Terrier Hockey Club and the maulers of the different hockey clubs that were picked up by someone who had done them. Joan, in fact, did the square dancers in Yorkton. She did a picture of them. There were a lot of things that were individual that were interesting because they really did stand out with regard to somebody in our city and portrayed a good set of ideas from our province or our town or our city itself, which really means something. And
there were newcomers also involved in this.
There were, and some very happy newcomers that were very glad and just painted pictures of the snow and the sky. And they were quite happy with that.
In some cases, snow which they'd never seen before they came to Canada. Yeah. What was your reaction when you first saw it all together?
Oh, it was beautiful. Absolutely. We have pictures and pictures and pictures of it.
How many tiles did each of you paint yourself?
Oh, I painted 4, I believe.
Yeah, I think I painted 3 or 4. Maybe 5.
And tell me about the choices that you made as far as painting the tiles. What images were they, or were they part of the sky, or what was your theme?
I'll start, and I first of all painted a wild iris. Now, I did that because in searching for native wild plants, that is something that I had found through communication with someone else, but I found them over by Sheeho, and that's the only location that we're sure of in Saskatchewan. And there could be some further north. And so, because that was special to me, to find a wild iris, I painted a wild iris, and it happened to be on the blue section.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I, painted something that is me or significant to me and to Saskatchewan, sort of thing.
No, that's great. Jean,
yeah, okay, I'll let Jean.
What was it that you painted? What was the choices?
I painted a scene of elevators because of the disappearance of the elevators in Saskatchewan. I thought that should be a part of the history there,
right.
And that was kind of in the land area. And I painted flowers, I think, and they were kind of relatively close to white and blue for the part of the sky. And I did a field of wheat because, of course, wheat and farming is so prevalent. I mean, this is what our province is really made of.
It would be interesting to see how many of the kids who participated stay around in Yorkton and grow up.
That's
and
exactly
have young
right.
families of their own and come back as adults and show their children that
and we were talking about that when they were doing it. We were talking about that, and I said, in 10 years from now, when this is up there somewhere, or 20 years, you can bring your children or your grandchildren, whatever, and say, look, we were a part of this. And by then, I mean, in 20 or 30 or 50 years, they may have another project like this, and so then they say, well, my grandma or my grandpa did this, and now I'm going to do this because I want to be a part of it too. So I think that's a big drawing card for sure.
Absolutely. You will affect the lives of these kids in ways that you may not even yet know. I want to thank you both for sharing your experience with me and for your time, and again, for the work that you're doing in the schools. It's important.
Well, nice to chat with you too, Kevin. So good luck with this project.
Hey, thanks for listening. Music for SaskScapes is provided by Saskatchewan-born singer-songwriter Jeffrey Straker. It's so exciting to see SaskScapes being downloaded by a global audience. Remember, if you're in Saskatchewan and have a story that needs to be heard, contact me about how you can become a sponsor. Stories from our past and our present, they're all waiting to be told from here in the land of the living skies. So until next time...